of your pharmacy tech. A measurement system refers to a set of units that can be used to specify length, volume, weight, etc. So these are our measurements that you must also know. And you know what length is, mostly inches to feet, and you need to know what they actually stand for. You won't see a lot of this in pharmacy tech. They want you to know because you will have to answer questions on what equals what. 200 milligrams equals how many milliliters, things like that. So you will have to know the conversions. So sometimes it depends on where you're working at, how much of these conversions you'll be using. Most of the time, not so much when you're dealing with pills, and it becomes second nature to you anyways. If you forget or if you're having problems, they'll tell you in such an easy way that you're, on the job training. It's a wonderful thing. But these you need to get down, especially the ones that I have underlined. They do not go away. You will see them. So 16 fluid ounces, that automatically equals a pint. So when they're asking about a pint, we know that it's a liquid and it is 16 fluid ounces. We also know, and we don't use gills, but 2 pints equals a quart. And 4 quarts equals a gallon. So we always remember that as well. 2 pints equals a quart. 4 quarts equals a gallon. Put that in your head. Don't let it go away. All right. Mass, the other one, the most important, 16 ounces equals a pound. So when this is when you're weighing somebody. So if you got 1 pound, that's 16 ounces. And we just know this. Somebody told me this, and that's what I remembered. I've never really tried to measure it out on my own. We just know 1 pound equals 16 ounces. And you'll see that as well. The other weights and measurements we don't use as much, but you will and may see. But we don't use drams anymore. We do know that 16 fluid ounces is 1 pint. We don't use much other than that. Okay, as far as this page. We do have some metric measurements you will have to know because some of your medications will be prescribed as such. They may say, and this is why you need to know your conversions. They may say you have, and this is length. You won't have a lot of length going on at all for medications. Just know that to change from a millimeter to a meter, you'll move your decimal place 3 places. Remember back when each place, then it's tens, hundreds, then thousands. So we know that we got to move it to the thousandths place or to 3 zeros. That's how I've always remembered it. So 1 millimeter. So we know that 1 milliliter or meter, actually equals 1,000 centimeters. I might be saying that backwards. I probably am. Millimeter is the smallest. But it equals 0.001 of a meter. So the meter is the big one. So you got a whole meter, and 1 millimeter of that is 0.001. And then they add up after that. And that's the most ones you need to know, the very smallest. And then the other one where it says 1 kilometer equals 1,000 meters. And we know that that's just something you got to put in your head and just remember. That a kilometer is the big one. So each of them are like 1,000 of each. So 1,000 meters equals a kilometer. 1,000 milliliters equals a meter. And I feel like I'm saying it backwards. I don't want to confuse y'all. Y'all see it. 1 millimeter equals 0.001 meter. And then 1 kilometer equals 1,000 meters. Don't let me confuse you. For volume, just remember that 1 kilo means 1,000. So 1 kiloliter is 1,000 liters. You'll see milliliters very often, and that is 1/1000th of a liter. So it's 0.001. and those flow back and forth. We don't see, nobody writes 0.001 liter. They just go ahead and write 2 milliliters instead of 0.002 liters. They're not going to do that. They're going to order or give 2 milliliters. Okay. Mass, that is pretty much the space something takes up, the weight, all together. Same thing, don't go thinking too hard, but you will see a lot of this because most medications are ordered in milligrams. Okay? So 1,000 micrograms, and you'll see that mcg equals 1 milligram. So milligram here is the biggest that we're looking at. And it takes 1,000 micrograms to make that up. So again, moving your decimal place over. We also know that 1 milligram is equals to 0.001 gram. And they do not order it like that. If they do, just ask somebody. Because that is something you just have to remember. But it's, again, moving them 3 decimal places. That gets you how much of a gram it is. Because the gram's the biggest. So it takes 1,000 micrograms to equal 1 milligram. Okay? So if I got 999 micrograms, it will be 0.999 milligram. Because we know that 1,000 milligrams equals 1, or microgram equals 1 milligram. Don't, and I'm pausing so you can see it and think about it. Also here, we already know kilo means 1,000. So I got 1 kilogram. That means 1,000 grams or milligrams. In this case, grams. So anytime you see kilogram, it's 1,000 grams. Just know your kilo means 1,000. And it's going to be your biggest measurement that you'll see most of the time. Just remember those. Temperature, just remember these as well. There is a formula that helps you figure these out. We're not going to try to even mess with that. We do know that 0 Celsius equals 32 Fahrenheit. 50 Celsius is 122. 100 is 212. And what you'll normally see is 50 degrees Celsius. And I don't see that very often. It's when they're mixing and trying to melt things. You will not see that. Sorry, but do know that 0 Celsius equals 32. I think that's the one that they're constantly asking you. 0 Celsius equals 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Yes, that is our freeze point. 0 degrees Celsius, 30 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay. So here we have our equivalents still. They do not go away. These are ones that you may need to go ahead and add to your flashcards. Because it's a lot of remembering stuff that you knew back when that you just have to pull back to remember. Because they're going to ask you your conversions or equivalents. So a half a teaspoon equals 2 milliliters. And you know that's very small. What a half a teaspoon is. So a whole teaspoon is 5 milliliters, and a tablespoon is 15. So I always remember that because you will be asked these questions, and you will have to put out medications as this and try to figure out how much you need. Most time it's figured out on the computer for you. You won't even have to think about it, but you need to know how to check behind yourself when you're making and adding medications. So if I got a half a teaspoon, that's 2 milliliters. A teaspoon is 5, where the tablespoon is 15. So they will ask, let me get 2 teaspoons by mouth, BID. So you would give 10 milliliters. They'll give you a little syringe, or you will give them a syringe. That measures out up to 30 milliliters. So we know if the doctor ordered 2 teaspoons, that if they ask 2 teaspoons would equal 10 milliliters. And you would show them on the syringe where they pull up the medication and divvy it up. Because if they just kept taking medication, they die. They have to make that in different medication dosage. So a half a teaspoon is 2 milliliters. 1 teaspoon is 5. And a tablespoon, which is your bigger one, that's the big spoon, it's 15. Know those as well. They don't go away. Fluid volume, that is kind of saying the same thing. If we already know 1 tablespoon is 15 milliliters, so here we go. 2 tablespoons is 30 milliliters. And it's actually also, remember that 1 ounce is 30 milliliters. And that's that first line up there. 1 ounce equals 30 milliliters. Get those wonderful measurements in your head and you can figure everything else out. So if I got 2 ounces, you just divide 2 by 30. 4 ounces, 4 by 30. And you just keep going out. It actually changes somewhere in there. It makes it look a little funny. But we know also that 8 fluid ounces times 30 equals 240 milliliters. 240 milliliters is equal to a cup. You'll have to know that maybe with your medications, sometimes it will say take with 8 fluid ounce. And sometimes they'll even give you a cup and show you where the 8 ounce is. This is how much water you need to drink. And on some medications, it is that important. You need to show somebody what 8 fluid ounces is. And hopefully they recognize a cup size. How I always remembered it. Remember the milk carton? That milk carton was 8 fluid ounces, which is 240 milliliters and a cup. Just different ways of saying the same thing, the same fluid volume. It's just how are they measuring it? Is it a cup, 8 fluid ounces, or 240 milliliters? Just know those conversions. Your first easiest and one you need to remember is 1 fluid ounce equals 30. So if I asked you, you've got 40 fluid ounces. You know you need to multiply by 30 to get your milliliters. And they probably won't do that. Then they'll ask for a whole gallon or something. But we know that 2 fluid ounces, 2 times 30 is 60 milliliters. 4, of course, that's a half a cup, 125. And then you got your whole cup, which is 8 fluid ounces, 240. You can't forget those. A quart is 32 ounces and a liter. A lot of people are like, what? 1 quart is the liter, which also equals 32 fluid ounces. So 1 quart is a liter and 32 fluid ounces. Just the same stuff, just who's measuring it, where are they from, and where are they getting this medication dosage in from. And that's really what it boils down to, where and how the medication is given to you. Doctor may have ordered 1 quart of water, and you don't know about that, but you know you got this medication, and you look at it, it says 1 liter. You have to know that that liter equals your 1 quart. Okay? Weight is very much the same. We just know that 1 ounce, the same as 1 fluid ounce equals 30 milliliters. 1 ounce equals 30 grams. And that is your weight. So if you got an ounce of something, it's 30 grams. So always know that that's how you find your grams as well. And you'll see that. Dry measurements, 3 tablespoons equals 1 tablespoon. So we already know that because we learned that 1 tablespoon is 15 milliliters. 1 teaspoon is 5. So if we got 3 teaspoons, and they're 5 milliliters each, 5 times 3 is 15. So that equals that 1 tablespoon, which also equals a half an ounce, because we know an ounce is 30 milliliters. And it goes to 14.3 grams. Your job is to mostly remember that 3 tablespoons equals 3 teaspoons equals a tablespoon. Once you get that in your head, you'll know that that's a half an ounce, because we know that a whole ounce is 30 milliliters. So a half an ounce is 1 tablespoon. And how you can measure that is, you know, the Pepto-Bismol, they come with a little measuring cup. Y'all need to get you some measuring cups from wherever you are taking your meds. If you don't know, hopefully you're trying to be a pharmacy tech and you already know this. Some of this stuff, you have to pull back. But far as your teaspoons and tablespoons, I need you to know that they are 15 milliliters. You will see a tablespoon is 15, whereas a teaspoon is 5. And they will order them in different ways, and you need to be able to tell your patient that. So do not forget that. Percentage, decimals, and fractions. Certain places in here, you will have to remember and pull back that math. I'm not the best math teacher. I can tell you science all day. Your math is something we just have to pull back from what we already knew. It's nothing different, nothing changed. It's just how we're looking at it, kind of just like your measurements for weight over there. Kind of the same. So, to make a percent, if we got 10% of something, remember that is meaning out of 100. So if I got 10%, like your grade is 10, that's not good. That's 0.9 of the whole, or I should say 0.1 of the whole, which equals 1/10. So to make that whole, to make yourself 100, you need 9 more things added to that. So you can have a 10-10. So if it was 10-10, that is 100%. But you have 0.1 when it makes it a decimal, because that is the 10th place. So you just move it over 1. I'm hoping some of this is coming back to you. So that's 10% equals 0.1 equals 1/10. Come on down to the next most important that you'll probably remember even easier. So we got 50%. We know that's, if that's the grade, you got 50 over 100. But when we make it a decimal, it's 0.5, just like you got 50 cents. And fraction is 1/2, just like you got 50 cents. Or half a dollar. Half of a dollar, I should say. Half of a dollar. So 50% is that's what it is. 0.5 is how you write it, or that is 1/2. And the whole is always going to be the whole. Like in this scenario, it would be 10-10 still. But you only have, you know, and I'm trying to describe it for you so easy. I don't want to mess it up. But in order to make it a decimal, all you got to do is go 5 divided by 10. And that's all decimals. You just take it and divide it by 10. Take your 8 divided by 10. It makes it a decimal, which would be 0.8. Okay? Y'all get that? So we got a 2 divided by 10. And all they have done over in the fraction section is found the most common denominator, if y'all remember that, where you would have 2 numbers that if it was a 5 and a 10, 2 goes into that, or 5 goes into that 1 time, and then 5 goes into 10 2 times, so it would be 1/2. Just read over that. You've got to bring it back if you have to. I will also, and I will be doing that, putting some simple math problems on here for them to describe it in different kind of ways. I've said it. Sometimes people get it when I say it. Some people just want somebody else to say it. And however you get it, that's just make sure it comes back to your mind, because we need it when we're figuring out dosages. Okay, so just bring it back. You got it. It's there. Okay. Pharmaceutical calculations. I will send y'all a video of this as well. It's not as hard as you think. It's not bad, but you will have to figure it out. Most of the times, and I can say real easy. If somebody has 500 milligrams, or the prescription says the doctor wants this person to have 500 milligrams of a medication twice a day. Okay? On the shelf, you're looking, you don't have 500 milligram medication, you have 1,000. So we know that we're going to have that 1,000 to make it 500. That is the basic as it gets. So do not go thinking too hard. And we will figure out some of these together. I will make a video of that as well. But first, I'm going to see some videos that I have used in the past that, because I'm not a math teacher, I want somebody to describe it to you in a better way, and then I can pull you from there. I promise we'll get you there. But a lot of this is just relative. If the doctor orders 1 and you only have 0.5, we know to give them 2. Same as a lot of people know ibuprofen 200. So doctor orders ibuprofen 800 because it's a bad pain. So we know we're going to take 4 of those 200. We can buy 200 over the counter. 800 has to have a prescription. So a lot of times, you know, I know if I'm trying to get rid of some pain, I'm going to go ahead and take me an 800. And I have to do that once a month. But you can just ride on to Dollar General, buy you some 200 milligram ibuprofen, and take 4. Same principles. They're just wanting you to write it down. A lot of this stuff you can just remember in your head and figure it out just like we just did. But I will send you some videos for that as well. We're trying to get you've got one more chapter, which is not a bad chapter at all. This will probably make you think the most at the moment. Everything else is remembering. If you can get all that in your head and remember your meds. Remember especially your seek codes and things like that. I will help you along the way, but you got to get that memory in there. And this right here, once you see the videos, you'll see that you can answer these questions almost off the top of your head. Okay? All righty. But I have some made out for you if you want to follow that before you get to the videos. Thank you.